What if I told you guys it was way worse than you thought it was? In
I
terms
can't
of
wait to hear that.
all right,
In terms of what Snyder wanted to bring to this.
it starts with the death of Superman, followed by Lois Lane being impregnated by Batman.
But yeah, EK, you tell us where to go.
We can jump into the cons now, because there are some
Yeah.
cons to talk about.
Yeah.
We already brought up the runtime, which it's the movie is too long. It's far too long, and I think the only thing I'll really add to that is the fact that I think that introducing the Flash and Aquaman in this movie wasn't a good idea, because it takes too much time, and it expects you to be familiar with the characters before they really introduce them. So I think that one thing they could have done to reduce the runtime of this movie was actually to release the Aquaman movie and the Flash movie before getting to this, and then just use this movie to introduce Cyborg, and then that would have been a much smoother progression of stories. And yeah, they did add in this movie. They did add a lot of scenes, like, I guess contextualizing the stuff that happens in the Aquaman movie, which came after Justice League, because Justice League was 2017 and Aquaman came out in 2018. So they right. retroactively like added a lot of stuff in there. So that's one thing that I will say about the runtime of the movie. Aside from that, the other I guess biggest con for me was actually the villains of the movie. And at least for me, like, I'm always like, the bottom line of like these movies and things is usually comes down to the villains. And so I guess starting with Steppenwolf, I guess the main villain of the movie, they managed to like add a little more detail to him, and they made him look more interesting, but overall he wasn't that much better. He was like a tiny bit better, but not that much better, to the point where I thought, yeah, this is interesting. I always found myself just waiting for Darkseid to show up when Steppenwolf was around. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that was just me.
I think I just noticed a moment where Rusty pulled out a new beer. Was that what just happened there? It's that time of night.
I did, and I was gonna open a can, but then I decided I didn't want that can, so I grabbed a bottle, which is not as loud when you open it. But yes, I did. I did open a beer.
Thank you, because as EK knows this, just about every podcast there is either a beer or I've made old fashions on them. But today, in observance of Lent, I'm not drinking until Easter, so that's hence the sparkling water and the espresso here. But thank you for that.
I'm happy to be your proxy today, and I'll have some beer on your behalf. No problem.
Cheers to you, my friend. Cheers to this team being here.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. By the way, this is a good moment, actually. It is approximately midway through. Rusty, it's time. Please. Justin has a podcast of his own. Please tell us the name and where we could find that awesome podcast of yours.
Well, that's lovely. That's lovely of you guys to ask, actually. Yes. I have my own film podcast called Filmed Obscura. It's hosted by myself and my friend Chris Herder. And you can find it where you look for your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. We basically tackle two obscure, could be older, could be newer, horror thriller type films. We talk about them. We go on tangents. We try to drink local beer. Yeah, it's a good time of virtually nothing. And I'm hoping to have you guys on there once I can find a good, obscure, superhero-esque horror movie that's not so mainstream that we can all discuss. So thank you.
By all means, please.
Yes.
And
They
you've
don't
also
have to.
made your own horror films as well. Hopefully, you talk about those at some point. I'm assuming you filmed enough horror scenes and enough.
Yeah, I mean,
Your own world.
I don't talk about those films on the podcast itself because they don't have that kind of release. But thank you, and I've made my films with you, worked with Etienne on stuff, and
That's right.
I'm continuing to work on what I can work on
Heck
as
yeah.
best I can.
I anticipate being killed for the 8th or 9th time in one of your movies.
You know,
I
if I
look
can
forward
fit
to
it, if I can fit it in, I'm gonna murder you in a movie. That's usually priority if it works. Unfortunately,
That's right. That's right.
It's not as easy right now to get people together to murder you on film. But
We can do it. We can do it. We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. But thank you. Yes, yeah.
Yep.
If anyone wants to hear us ramble about obscure movies that most people don't care about, go check out Filmed Obscure. It's a good one.
Please do. Please.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
How did you feel about Steppenwolf and the other characters here, Desaad and ultimately Darkseid, of course?
From my perspective, I agree with Etienne a lot. Actually, I didn't think they improved Steppenwolf quite as much as I'd hoped they would. I do think that the improvement was good though, and I think that he did look better. He looked sharper. I thought that knowing why he was doing what he was doing to try and get back in Darkseid's good graces at least gives him somewhat of a plot and a little bit of a connection to him, a little bit. But ultimately, he still kind of was the same thing that he was in the theatrical version, just a little more fleshed out. I also was hoping for more Darkseid. And I was hoping that Darkseid would be as cool as Thanos is in the Marvel Universe. I'm not so sure that Darkseid is quite the Thanos that I was hoping he would be.
Certainly not.
But we also didn't get a lot of him. We got, more of a half introduction, whereas, we've seen a lot more of Thanos, of course, through the Avengers movies and stuff. But, yeah, I liked it better. I was happier that they fleshed him out. I liked his armor better. I thought he was a little more vicious in this one. Steppenwolf I'm talking about.
Sure.
I like that we did get to see Darkseid in the past and then also start to approach. But, yeah, no, it was, honestly, the villain was kind of middle of the road for me.
Yeah, I totally agree about Darkseid too. Like, because especially since with the teasers and trailers for this movie, he's pretty much front and center. Like, they're letting you know, hey, Darkseid is gonna be here. Hey, get ready for Darkseid, and yeah, we don't. I'm pretty sure I counted it, and we don't even see him reference until like 40 minutes or like an hour into the movie, something like that. And then yeah, the only time that we really see him in action is when he's getting his butt kicked by like by like Amazons,
by Ares, right?
and like yeah,
by Ares, the villain in Wonder Woman.
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah, like
She
getting
ends up
beat up by
she
Olympians.
ends up kicking
Yeah.
his ass. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. And so my thought, like, going into, I guess, the climax of the movie was that it's going to be, oh, that's why this is justifies the runtime, is that it's going to be like a whole other section where they're just fighting Darkseid. And when they got to the end, yeah, like when they got to the end and they had just barely finished with Steppenwolf, I was like, oh, that's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. It's exactly what I thought. I thought two things. I thought, oh crap, we're actually not going to see a fight with Darkseid. We're just going to see them set up Darkseid for what everyone wants to be a second Justice League movie, but I don't know if we're going to get that. You know what else I thought? I thought of X-Men Apocalypse and how Apocalypse was not represented in the full awesome way that he could have been represented, because he is, he was in the X-Men world. He's a huge character like Thanos or Darkseid.
He is the Thanos of the mutants. Yeah, we've talked about that
Exactly.
extensively on this pod. Yeah.
Yeah, and watching that movie, which, to be fair, I don't hate that movie, but he was not nearly as cool as he could have been. And I thought initially watching this, I'm like, crap, did they kind of just like Apocalypse Darkseid, and you know, by seeing him get his butt kicked by Ares, and then coming off all the things we got with Thanos, you know, which Marvel did well.
They also had They had how many years to build up to it, right?
True, and that's the thing, and
mean,
that goes back to Etienne's point before too, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is that they could have spent a little more time building up to Justice League. They didn't have to, you know, wait 8 movies like, you know, not Marvel didn't wait 8 movies, but you know, Marvel had a couple solo films for their core Avengers to know they needed that in order to get into the Avengers.
Right.
Whereas DC gave us Man of Steel, jumped right into Batman vs Superman, which is already introducing fans to a brand new Superman when we all just came off of Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale's Batman, which I would have loved to have seen him in this universe as opposed to Ben Affleck at that time. I like Ben Affleck now, though. And then, as Etienne said, I think it would have been so much more beneficial to give us an Aquaman and a Flash movie, something where we have a better realization, and then start peppering in Darkseid, building up Darkseid more.
Of course.
Maybe show a little bit of that old fight in Wonder Woman, or you know, link it that way with the Amazons, and show that, yeah, he's vulnerable, but then he's going to come back even more vicious to give us more of that revenge story that Darkseid should potentially have, which is what I think they were alluding to in this movie, that I know he wants the antimatter, which I'm sure we may dive into, but he also wants revenge on the planet that he didn't end up taking. At least that was something I interpreted it to be. And we didn't get that build-up, so then we're just kind of thrown into this. And in this movie, we're thrown into Darkseid. And you're supposed to think Darkseid is the Thanos of the DC universe. And I just don't think that they quite fulfilled that aspect as well as they could have, which is a shame. And ultimately leads to, you know, maybe a little bit more lackluster villains.
Who would you cast as Darkseid? If you were to lead up that way, if it was going to be a build-up, a few movies, development, villains, the whole thing. I'm just curious if you have anyone in mind.
I mean, he was heavy CG.
Right.
So I guess we're really going voice also. We're going voice kind of like...
We're going voice, but I mean, let's face it. Also, I mean, you had there was voice, there was expression, less so in Apocalypse, but certainly with Thanos, you knew it was Berlin. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Especially in the later, especially in the
They did a good job. They made him huge too. They made him appropriate in size. Whereas Apocalypse looked like he was 2 inches shorter than me. So in the X-Men movie. So
yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. You may have to circle back to me on that. I got to think about that. I think.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. We talk about that frequently.
Yeah. So let's move on actually to the epilogue, because there's a lot to talk about there as well. Right. So what really takes up the majority of the last, what was it, 20 minutes of this movie was, I guess, not a dream sequence, but like a foreshadowing of things which I guess he originally planned to come, but I guess which aren't happening anymore since Zack Snyder came out and said that he's not making any more of these movies. But yeah, so basically they follow back up with the nightmare sequence that Batman had gone through in Batman vs Superman, and you know, also with, you know, the whole Flash coming through the Speed Force to like warn him and all that stuff. So that finally gets addressed here at the end of this movie. And we find out that it is a post-apocalyptic future where Superman has gone berserk and joined Darkseid and basically ended the world, and it's up to Batman, Mara, Deathstroke, the Flash, Cyborg, and the Joker to stop him, and everyone else is dead, which is just how Zack Snyder likes it. So I thought it was an interesting addition to it, you know, kind of combining Injustice and Flashpoint together, which is an interesting combination of stories to do. And then also kind of, you know, being a bit of a send off for the universe in a way. Like this is pretty much the last that we are scheduled to see of the Snyderverse. So I guess it kind of just feels like he's getting his last hurrah in before, you know, he packs it in. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
My thoughts on the epilogue were, I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool. I ultimately did not need it, and I would have been perfectly happy with them just ending the movie after the 6th part. I liked it because it was kind of fun, and it certainly gave you a taste of what a Nightmare movie could be, which could be a lot of fun. I find something really different that really hasn't been done before. But overall, I don't think it was necessary. I think it was ultimately a tactic that Zack Snyder used to maybe have a small chance of getting to do his second part of the Justice League that he originally planned for. I know he said in an interview when people asked, why are you ending it like that on a cliffhanger? He said people wanted to see my vision, so that's what I gave him. And I appreciate that. You know, he still included it because he wanted to show people what he had in store. I do like that they used the whole dream aspect to also be able to just not do it if they don't want to, you know, and just chalk it up to it being a dream that Bruce Wayne had. Thought that'll work if they want to go with that route, which sounds to me like Warner Brothers is done with the Snyderverse, like you said, Etienne. So we're probably not getting back to it. I didn't love the interaction between Batman and the Joker. Mm. I don't know why. I don't really have a good reason why.
It had a weird sexual energy to it, I'll say.
I don't have a problem with Jared Leto's Joker. I just don't really buy Jared Leto's Joker. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel the real conflict between them. You know, like the Joker and Batman have this ongoing, he's like his main arch nemesis. You know, this conflict and this animosity towards each other. I personally didn't feel it between them. That doesn't mean Jared Leto, didn't do a great job. I thought he did the best he could with the way he plays his Joker, but it didn't really work for me. All of it wasn't 100% necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it was still cool to see the Nightmare sequence. It would be cool to see a movie if they were able to pull that off. I would certainly watch it, of course.
Yeah, I would say
we'd have to.
Yeah. I mean, I would, you know, I'll be the first one to pay money and go see it, but
of course.
I also, I'm okay if they don't do it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
I mean, at least in terms of Joker, I did like the Joker here more than Suicide Squad, basically because he actually wasn't trying as hard, and that's why I was like, okay, this is actually watchable. Because in Suicide Squad, he was doing the whole like gangster thing and like trying to play it up super hard, and it's just really cringy. So at least here it was at least watchable. That was my biggest takeaway from his performance here. I was like, okay, so at least we know what it would look like if it wasn't being, you know, overdone terribly. But
you have said on this podcast though that Leto is your favorite Joker, no? I'm just making sure. You have.
Yeah.
I know we've got into that.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
You know, that's why I critique because I love. But yeah, I also thought that the interaction was strange on both ends of it. So, like I said, like I almost jokingly said before, Joker's had like a weird sexual energy to it this time, where he was talking about like giving Batman reach arounds and stuff like that. So that was really iffy for me. And then I think we also noted it before, but you know, Batman also saying that he's gonna fucking kill Joker, like that didn't sound like Batman. That sounded like Zack Snyder. So that was what I didn't like about their interaction there. But yeah, like you said, Justin, if it existed, fine. But yeah, you know, if not, nothing lost. I don't know how you feel, Johnny. You can chime in.
You hit it right on the head when you said right there that that's Snyder speaking. Okay, through Batman. Okay, maybe, understandably, I get it. Scripts in the previous one, Batman might say, "Oh shit," he might curse. But I'm sorry, Snyder's really hell bent on taking whatever worlds he's bringing to cinematic life and turning them upside down and burning them and then filming what's happening afterwards, like filming the world thereafter. There is no daylight in any Snyder films. If there is, it's pouring rain or it's a fucking graveyard scene. It's a funeral. It's something it's something horrifically sad, and people are somber and they're walking through. At best, you've got Lois Lane walking to the gravesite to go see Superman, and it's pouring. Right, that is his daylight. That is as close as it gets. It is reminiscent of the animated series, but there's no hope. There's nothing happy. There's no fun. There's nothing charming, which is, it cries out for something else. It cries out for me, like I said, as a producer working with both you guys, for example, and a writer, it would be such a great way to have to have his vision brought to life and then say, okay, Zack, we got your vision now, but we're going to make it a little more appealing, a little bit, not necessarily with the cheesy one-liners, but do something else. Bring in another director, bring in someone else. But here, this is the apex of that. And I've got two major problems with it. One, it's not just Snyder talking through the characters, but it's, like you're saying, Rusty, that he's kind of, he's throwing it out there. He's building up some more hope, some more buzz in the attempt to have a million fans or 10 million fans come up and say, restore the Snyderverse, bring it back. These are also, by the way, the same fans who, how many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, put Dawn of Justice on a stick and roasted it, all right, left and right. Fans destroyed that movie, destroyed it. Okay, I don't know how many of those fans were out there saying we loved it. I loved it. There are parts of it I got a problem with, admittedly, but the rest of them, but it's dark as shit. It's superheroes who are in their darkest possible lights, which is not what people want to go out and buy comic books for, quite frankly.
Also, with major characters dying for no particular reason, like just to, sorry to cut you off, but just to,
no, please, yeah,
just to input that I hate how he takes characters that we know and love from the source material and just nonchalantly kills them in his movies, like Jimmy Olsen and Mercy Graves.
Yes.
I hate that so much about how he works. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
No. I love it. It's a fact that it's not just and yeah. So he kills off those guys. Or Mercy is the girl, I know that, but he's also ripping apart this world. So here he is, as a filmmaker, attempting to change as far as I'm concerned, he's changing the fiber of the characters. For me, that's a problem, and I'll get to that. But before that, as a filmmaker, he is trying to build up this world where the world should end. I respect Nolan with his trilogy because he very clearly ended it. And I think, if I understand correctly, Warner Brothers wanted to they wanted to do a fourth one. They wanted Bale to sign on. Bale was out. Okay, and I respect him as an actor for doing it. But I respect the director saying, okay, I got 3 movies. I made my vision, and that's it. And now I'm going to do some other shit. And I'll be a part of it. I'll help you guys out with Man of Steel. I'll help you guys out going forward. But here's Snyder, who's, quite frankly, if it was a 3-hour episodic, if it was a 3-hour film, take out that aspect of it, and you've got a nice little gift. You've got to wrap it up in a bow, and is it perfect? No, but it's his vision. Now it's from what little you guys went to school for this, and you learned what it is to write a film. And from what I understand, you've got a very basic recipe. You've got the what the hell's it called? The turn back scene where you think everything's gonna fall apart, and then it all comes back, and we're all good, and life is good. The heroes prevail, and then you see them, doing their thing. You see Bruce Wayne and what's her name? Selena Kyle. You see Bruce Wayne and Catwoman in Paris, right? You get that nice little ending. You don't have Batman and in Snyder. Batman. He's doing that, and then he's also building up this other world. Like if Snyder made that trilogy, right? It's unnecessary. And I think it does fans a disservice because it's tickling them, saying, "Oh, I got this. We're going to do more." That's my business aspect of it that I don't like. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing anything brought to life. It's a what if series. It's a what if story that is brought to life. But here. He's also making, like you said Flashpoint and Injustice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Etienne? Those two. If you're going to make Flashpoint, then pitch it as Flashpoint and make Flashpoint. Clearly, he's trying to do that. And he's trying to shove it through into this film. It's not necessary. If it's Flashpoint, and this is my number one problem with him turning Batman into a killer. That is the fiber that I'm talking about. That is a major problem for me. And I know if you read about it, you see Snyder's interviews, he loves to say it. He's like, oh, okay, if your Batman doesn't kill, that's cool. If you think the world is all cheery and happy and your Batman's never going to kill anybody, that's great. Sorry, that's not how it is in this world, all right? The world is dark, the world is gloomy, and everybody is embodied by this trauma, and everyone should kill. Like, everyone should kill, everyone should be killed. Like, yes. So he's taking a part of Batman and changing it to such a level. I mean, I wrote it's taking to make Batman a killer. You could take the muscle out of Superman, make him completely scrawny. Or no, excuse me, not the muscle. Take the flight out of Superman. Right? We kind of do have that. We have Superboy. Take the muscle out of the Hulk. Make the Hulk just a regular green guy, right? Who maybe can fight. But what is he? He's a ninja charged by radiation, charged by gamma rays, or make Wonder Woman a man. Is that the same? Do we think of Wonder Woman the same if he's a guy from Themyscira, right? This is a book that I read that I've talked to you guys about, Batman and Psychology. This guy's a professor. I forgot where he teaches this course, but he indicates many who research the impact of losing one's parent or parents when old enough to know about it rank that as the single most stressful common life event children can experience. He turns this into becoming the Batman, and he never, ever decide. We know of moments in the comics and the cartoons where he does confront that. He met it many, many times. He says, should I kill the Joker? The Joker's caused so much pain, taken away so much, but he doesn't do it because he doesn't ever want to make any child experience what he experienced. So, to me, it's a major flaw. It's something that it's changing the fibers here that I disagree with.
Yeah.
So I have a couple just piggybacks that I 100% agree with John on a couple of things here, and I just want to reiterate that you make some very good points, and I think the points that you're making were a lot of the reason why a lot of fans, myself included to some small degree, did not care as much for some aspects of Man of Steel and for a lot of aspects of Batman vs. Superman.
Sure.
I think you're absolutely right. I think, number one, Batman has always been known to have that code that he does not kill.
Right.
He'll break someone's arm. He'll break someone's leg. He'll put you in the hospital. But he doesn't kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Not
agree
since
with
like
that.
the Golden Age, yeah.
What's that? Sorry?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, like, yeah, he hasn't killed somebody since like the Golden Age when like when he very first came out and he like used to have a gun and he worked in New York City.
Right.
But then every other iteration of the character, like you said, he doesn't kill people. Sorry.
That's my other
and
point.
In
by the way.
Flashpoint too, like go to Thomas Wayne. He was
Exactly.
The
That's what I wrote.
Anti-Batman by having guns and killing people and stuff.
Right.
So yes, you absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Did I ever really like that about Batman? No. Did I even like that about Superman and Man of Steel, where he ends up killing Zod? You know, that was a big questionable choice that Zack Snyder made in that. And big-time Superman fans like Jesse never liked that as much. You know, he'll justify it till he's blue in the face because he likes Man of Steel. But we all know Superman really is... He's like a Captain America, you know? He doesn't just kill. Batman doesn't either. So I 100% agree with you on that. Another thing I just wanted to say is that regarding the epilogue, as I said, I sure if you want to make a movie, I'm totally going to watch it. I did like the Martian Manhunter part of it. I think they could have moved that part of it to the end of part 6, you know, where Martian Manhunter shows up at Bruce Wayne's house at the end after he wakes up from the dream. I did like that. But the rest of it, I think it's all fan service to some degree that wasn't really necessary. And as someone who has the consistent battle of figuring out what the hell I'm supposed to cut out of movies and how am I supposed to edit this down and what can I sacrifice, what can I not sacrifice, I think the nightmare sequence could have been sacrificed. Even though I know he really wanted to give people Batman and the Joker. And he went on interviews saying that's basically why he did it, because he thought the fans deserved to see Ben Affleck and Jared Leto have that interaction.
Right.
And it was such a weird interaction. I agree with EK.
It was such a weird interaction.
It's not Batman. I agree. There's homoerotic elements. It's not. And you're making a point that I wrote exactly. I said, what happens if a parent, if a noble city, like the guy who runs the city, the doctor, sees his kid, is killed in front of his, along with his wife, in front of his child. You get Batman. You get this agent of vengeance who never wants to bring that again to another child. What happens if that father is the one who sees his son get killed in front of his and his wife? You basically get the Punisher, which is Thomas Wayne, which is Flashpoint.
Yeah, which works. Right? Which works. Of course. And being a big Punisher fan, like, I get the anti-heroes that do kill. It's not that I'm saying that I dislike, I don't want to see certain aspects of that. But, I mean, even Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame, he's killing all kinds of people as Ronin.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yep. Marvel has no qualms about that.
Yeah, I was fine with it.
Yeah, aside from Spider-Man, it's all free game.
But Marvel's characters do. I mean, you're right. The Avengers is a different thing, and maybe that has something to do with Whedon. I don't know, but no, said, we know Daredevil doesn't kill. Right?
There's Batman canon that says Batman doesn't kill.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a code that he lives by, and that's one of the things that I think that was my wraparound point.
I figured it out.
That's one of the things I think that makes Zack Snyder so polarizing to many fans and many people, is because he makes these choices that I don't have a problem with a lot of them, but he makes these choices that ultimately can be very polarizing for fans.
Right.
Yeah.
The nightmare sequence is one of them. I mean, most filmmakers will say, or film watchers will say, I didn't need that. What does that really do for us? If anything, it does give us hope of something that probably won't happen.
Sure.
So now we're all going to sit here and be like, well, I wonder what are we going to get
Snyderverse?
Yeah, restore the Snyderverse.
I realized something. I think the other thing I wrote here is that Snyder is speaking through his characters. Listen, I'm creating superhero characters. I've got a world of Ferris comics coming to the phones and YouTubes hopefully soon. Theaters near you if I'm lucky. But I'm making these superhero characters. Snyder can do the same thing. I mean, there are dark characters. He can create them himself. He can get a writer to come up with his ideas, or just do Watchmen forever, or just do, I don't know, Priest. I'm thinking of other dark, ridiculously dark super characters. But the other weird factor, maybe this is Affleck. Affleck was a daredevil who kills. So maybe that's Affleck's little rider in all his contracts. When he acts, he has to kill. So that's it. Look, I'm wondering maybe it's a little weird.
Yeah. All right. So
Affleck's
what if?
Kills? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Which is like just so crazy to see, like how it's journeyed from one to the other. But so I was gonna ask, what if I told you guys it was way worse than you thought it was. In
I
terms of,
can't wait to hear that. In terms of what? In terms of what Snyder wanted to bring to this?
yeah.
I can only imagine. What?
Actually, I would be very curious.
All right. So
Batman finds the children of every one of his criminals and shoots the babies in the face. What could be worse? I don't know. Where do they go with this?
So this directly ties into the nightmare sequence and the entire story surrounding it. So so basically what the nightmare sequence is that Superman and Darkseid team up and, enslave humanity, right? That's like what we see. But there's an entire backstory to that, which we don't see, that is hinted at. And it starts with the death of Superman, followed by Lois Lane being impregnated by Batman. And
yes. This I did read about this. They were supposed to be that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's completely alluded to in the movies. And then later on, Batman finds out that she is pregnant, and he's so distraught or something that he allows her to die. And this is after I believe Superman is brought back. And she is dead, which is the charred corpse that we see Superman holding in the Snyder cut. Right. And so this is the breaking point that causes Superman to then join up with Darkseid, I believe. I don't know if the anti-life equation is involved in his brainwashing, but that is the jumping off point, which is why I brought up Injustice. That's how that story starts as well, is that Superman loses a pregnant Lois Lane to the Joker. And so, yeah, that is the backstory. And so Flash has to go back in time because Superman has started killing everyone. Like, as they show in the movie, most of the heroes are dead. And Flash, he can only go back on one day a year when the Earth is in the exact right spot. And he goes back in time to warn Batman that he can't trust Superman and that Lois Lane is the key, which he says in Batman versus Superman when he comes back to Bruce.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's pretty much, and then, so after they manage to get through everything and change the future, Bruce sacrifices himself so that Lois can live and that Superman never goes dark. And then Lois Lane has the child. I forget if Superman is made privy to the fact that he is Batman's son, but the kid ends up going to the Batcave and eventually becomes Batman. And I believe that is the end of the Snyder story. And just to make it just a little bit worse, Zack Snyder has come out and said, yeah, Lois Lane is totally pregnant by Bruce Wayne in the movies. We just didn't get to cover it. So, ta-da, it's much worse now.
Yeah, it's just, again, give him a different writer. Lighten it up, all right? Call the Spidey director. What's his name? Watts, right?
John Watts.
Yeah, get someone else to say, Zach, I get it. It's dark. I understand. But we got to lighten it up, buddy.
I can officially say I did not know all that. I did not read all that. I can officially say that I don't need any of that. You know what I'm more looking forward to? If they do the Flash movie, bring back Michael Keaton's Batman, because he's my favorite by far.
Oh, yeah.
And
Nice.
Give me Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange any day of the week. Yeah, I don't need any of that. No thanks.
Yeah,
I just want to.
it makes me glad to a degree that Warner Brothers put the kibosh on his vision, because if left unchecked, what ruin would this dude cause?
I really do like what he did, and I'm very pleased that we all got to see it. I'm very happy. I'm going to buy it. I really enjoyed it. I'm okay now. I got it. We all got to see it. We got to compare it to the theatrical cut. I'm good now.
Which never happens.
This was the middle point of 5 series.
It doesn't ever happen. That's true. This is crazy that this happened.
I mean, it's like it would be like Disney right now going to Lucas, right? And if and saying, here's $10 billion, make the Star Wars movies, redo them in your vision. Like, let's do this the way you want. Like, that never happens. It's amazing that we're able to sit here, go through this, and see what he wanted, see the entire vision brought to life.
I mean, it's a cash grab,
sure,
for Warner Brothers, and it's obviously going to make them a really, really large sum of money, which is good, because I'm glad they made the decision to take a chance and actually do it. But I'm okay now. You don't need. Like I said, I'll watch the Nightmare Sequence, but I don't need any of that you just said, Etienne. I'm good.
Yeah, man. This was the third movie in a 5-movie series. It was.
I know. And
it was. There's a lot left.
And as much as I keep liking Batman vs Superman more, and I will keep watching Justice League, and I'll keep watching everything DC does, I think it's good now. I think John made the good point. Why don't you just let it go like Nolan? Nolan made his trilogy. He finished it. And
right.
Yeah, Snyder, you know what? You got to show them your Justice League. It's okay now. Why don't you go do Army of the Dead, what you're doing for Netflix, and let's move on.
Tonight, our sponsor is Erman Law Group PA. They are an immigration law firm that is devoted to all of your potential immigration needs. They are located in Florida, specifically 501 Golden Isles Drive, Hallandale Beach, Florida. Contact information is 305-986-1583. And you can check them also out at ErmanLawGroup.com. That's URMAN lawgroup.com. And Miss Erman specifically wanted to reference the fact that she is an expert in all aspects of immigration law, family immigration, business-based immigration, but also specifically she's worked on something that features into our podcast world of essentially heroes, superheroes. She does something called the O visa. Okay, the O1 visa is specifically individuals with extraordinary abilities and achievement. Those are for prospective immigrant visas for individuals who possess extraordinary abilities in the sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. So that falls into our field, creators, as the three of us are all filmmakers here. And if you have any specific athletic ability or specific artistic ability, she can help. So feel free to contact Galina Erman at Erman Law Group PA. Once again, 305-986-1583 or ErmanLawGroup.com. Just to give you some thoughts, I would have liked to have seen, you got into the villains. I did like this, the Steppenwolf was cool. I agree with you guys on that, but it would have been neat to see Darkseid fleshed out. A better actor would have done that, but you needed the scenes, you needed the writing, you need history. I don't know. Bring us a world of apocalypse in a TV show. I don't know, something. But I asked you before, just to give you some actors who might be in that age range, approximately. By the way, many of them have already been in superhero films, which is tough. You got Costner, right, who was Superman's dad. Bryan Cranston is 65. Gary Oldman is already was Commissioner Gordon in the Nolanverse. Daniel Day-Lewis, if you can get him, that'd be pretty cool. Sean Penn. Just throwing out some older guys for you, Rusty, too, and or EK, if you have thoughts about who could bring Darkseid to a level of villainy that we would actually be attracted to, that we could relate to, and say, all right, this is something.
I have two. One, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to get anymore because he passed away.
Okay.
Alan Rickman.
Die Hard.
That could be interesting.
Yes, Hans Gruber
Hans Gruber. Oh wow.
or John Malkovich. I think John Malkovich could really bring a nice.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, think if you ever saw In the Line of Fire, the Clint Eastwood movie where he plays the assassin that wanted to kill the president. He's so creepy. He's ridiculously creepy in that. And you need someone to be creepy if you're gonna like compete with Thanos. You know, if you want to make him truly scary and stuff, you need to bring like a creep factor to that. I think.
I always thought size-wise when I used to watch the cartoon, when actually first time I really saw Darkseid being brought to the level of who this character is in the DC world before after the comics was in Superman the animated series when he actually kills. He basically leads the charge and he brings an army to Earth. It's a whole 4-part episodic arc, I think, and he kills the police general from Metropolis. He takes him out as is like at the end of it. That's a great series, that specific arc. But I don't know if he did the voice, but I always thought of Dennis Haysbert as like his size and his voice for it, because there's so much to that. So,
He would totally work. I agree.
yeah. No, but but Malkovich is interesting, and actually, Hans Gruber would be awesome.
Dude, Alan Rickman is the sheriff of Nottingham in freaking Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, who's fantastic in that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Unfortunately, he's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Right.
Huge loss. But so I guess one of the last things I'll bring up here is how they sort of added a few characters in to, potentially leave the door open for what may come next in the DCEU, not necessarily in Snyder's verse, but in DC as a whole. Like they slipped the Atom in there. I thought that was really cool, and they're probably gonna circle back around on that, and either get him a solo movie or bring him into another movie that's planned so far, because they have a lot of stuff going for them at this point. But yeah, I like seeing Ryan Choi in here, so that was cool. And then obviously we saw like a tiny bit of the Green Lanterns here, and expanding the universe that way, which we knew the Green Lanterns were going to be in here, and outside of the Ryan Reynolds version, but they definitely do have big plans for Green Lantern, to the point where they changed this movie in order to accommodate that, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but originally it was going to be Jon Stewart who was arriving here in this movie instead of Martian Manhunter, and Warner Brothers made Zack change that because they already had plans for the character.
I read that he wanted Green Lantern. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And so so I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, speaking of Martian Manhunter, so Justin, I remember that you said you liked his inclusion, and for me, I thought it was cool that they managed to get him in, because that was something that they cut out of the original movies. Like the general character had showed up a few times in the previous movies, and now they finally made the reveal. But I will say that sort of stands to raise a few more questions than the hype that it's built for the character, because so basically by making the introduction here and now, they're basically saying that Martian Manhunter didn't decide to come help until all the big threats were actually gone. So he kind of just sat by and watched Zod show up in do his thing, and then he watched Doomsday show up and do his thing, and then he basically watched the world end, you know, under Darkseid, and then after all is said and done, he's like, "Hey guys, I'm here too, and I'm ready to help." So it kind of raises the question of like, well, why did he just sit back and watch all those people die? So that was my only issue with it. Like, why are you hanging out with Lois Lane when everyone else is over in Russia trying to save the planet? So that, I think they could have implemented that a little bit smoother. But yeah, I'll let you guys comment.
Do you think it would have been stronger? I mean, do you think it would have been stronger if they didn't have him at the very end in the epilogue, and they just had him do the Lois Lane scene, which would just lead the audience to believe that he does interject himself when he needs to, but he keeps himself more secret, more hidden? Do you think it would have been stronger that way? Because I think it could have probably been stronger if you just had his introduction at that scene and not had him at the end. Because you make a very good point. I actually didn't think about it, but now that I'm thinking about it, you make a very good point that what has he been doing?
Right.
He's
completely crowbarred in. It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I thought it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I thought it took away from it, actually.
And Martian Manhunter's such a cool, powerful character that he
Absolutely.
really could have.
He's strong as Superman.
So much more helpful across the board. So honestly, Etienne, you make an excellent point. And now I think that I didn't mind it, but I think it probably would have been stronger if they just left him with the Lois Lane scene and did not have him come at the end.
Right. Yeah, I think
then it leads the people to believe that he's just interjecting. He is doing his part the way he thinks is right, but he does it by pushing people in the right direction versus actually like showing up and fighting Doomsday or something, which some people could be like, okay, well, that's how he's doing his part.
Right.
Which is more acceptable than, you're right. Now I feel like Earth is a place I should fight for. Meanwhile, I've been living here for years, and all of a sudden there's huge destruction going on, and heroes are all over the place. And yeah, that's interesting. I really didn't think about that when I watched the movie.
Yeah, it felt very last minute, which I mean, obviously it was, because this was a whole thing that they set up after the fact. But yeah, you're right. I think that they should have established basically just a reason why he's not willing to just come out and help more. Like just a line somewhere where he's like, I can't get involved with these humans, or I have my own mission to accomplish. Just something that just gives him some form of just some reasoning. If they wanted to include him more, they could include him more. And I'm gonna do another like tiny little rewrite here and see what you guys think. But so if they wanted to really get him involved in the story, what if he, after Superman had died, what if he came in as a new Superman, looking like Clark,
and impregnated Lois Lane?
Yeah, and they make a Martian hybrid superhero Batman.
And now Superman goes to Mars and is like, you know what? Mars is over. That's it. We're done.
Exactly. If he came in and he was pretending to be Superman, and the world doesn't know that he's dead, but Batman and Lois know that that's not Superman, which is a very prevalent theme in the Death of Superman comics that they released, where after Superman was killed by Doomsday, or they killed each other, there were all these other Supermen that popped up to take his place. And especially with the cyborg Superman and the Eradicator, like people were like, oh, is that Superman? Because they look exactly alike, but it's actually not, and Lois can tell. And so I thought that if they wanted to do it, then yeah, they could have implemented him that way. And then, they gather the team, and then they find out that it's not actually Superman. It was Martian Manhunter all along. And then at that point, I think he would have had to been more involved in the story. But and then they would have had to rework it, but I think that would have been a cool thing to do, because especially since Martian Manhunter has all of Superman's powers and more, he could 100% do that, and so that's like an interesting like little twist on it. So that was my little thing that I would have done if they were like, okay, we absolutely have to have Martian Manhunter in here and doing something.
Rusty?
I would sign up for that. That would be cool, because you know what, John Johns has those powers and more, so he could certainly emulate Superman better than most people.
It's John Johns. Okay, please.
John Johns. Well, not in this movie apparently, because he goes by many names.
I am. Oh, go ahead, Rusty. I'm sorry.
Oh no, all I was going to say is to piggyback off of that a little bit. Actually, you know what? Never mind on that. But what I was thinking was, the whole time he's the general, right? He's a general in the army.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, was that his mission? To fully assimilate into the human race and take a more subdued, yet could be perceived as heroic role?
I think you're reaching.
Am I reaching? I think that's fair. That's fair.
It's not a bad mission. I agree. He's got to stick to the mission, and as the Martian Manhunter, that's what he's got to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't stray from the mission. It's like the cosmic beings that we know of in Marvel, right? The Watcher.
Right.
Never interact. Maybe he's that, but.
Okay, so I'm probably reaching, but I could see that as being an interpretation. Going back to what Etienne was proposing.
Sure. I just think
that's certainly a viable rewrite. What's that? Sorry. Yep.
No. Go ahead. Finish up. Yeah. Or finish
No.
up.
I was just going to say that I think that Etienne's possible rewrite of the Martian Manhunter inclusion into the Justice League would work much better, and I think probably much stronger in the grand scheme of how that whole storyline could play out if he would take over Superman.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of a couple different concepts in superheroes, in sci-fi, action adventure. Some of those are time travel was always major for me. Endgame was fantastic with that. Avengers rather. Cloning, and when you've got duplicate characters like that, when you've got a character who's donning the garb and taking on the mantle of somebody else. I love that, actually, and it's very interesting to see something like that. That's why I did love when Superman is killed. You're talking about the Eradicator, and you've got Forge. You've got, not Forge. What's the metal guy?
Steel.
I forgot what his name is. Steel. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
The young Superman. It's awesome. Superboy basically comes in. It reminds me of your rewrite with Martian Manhunter coming in. Reminds me of an episode of also Superman the Animated Series, which I absolutely love, where Batman goes missing for a period of time, and Superman is actually doubling. He's being Superman. He's doing he's maintaining his duties in Metropolis, and also he's coming to Gotham wearing the bat suit and rocking and like doing everything Batman does basically for a few days to like a week until Robin and people pick up on it and starts. It's a fantastic episode. So I certainly that's appealing to me very much so. I like it. But
they could do a whole movie on it. Honestly, like
sure
that should have been Man of Steel 2. It could easily be Man of Steel 2 following Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
Right. Which follows like the rebirth of Superman, and then then they would have to basically rewrite the Justice League movie that would come after that. But I think that would be pretty interesting, and then it'll really focus on Martian Manhunter and learning what it means to be human and what type of hero he wants to be through the eyes of Superman, who is said to be the most human out of all of us. So yeah, that's just what I think, which would be pretty interesting to see.
I think that scene in the epilogue would have been stronger if it was a Green Lantern. Now that I'm thinking about it again,
I agree.
It would have been stronger If it were Jon Stewart, or even they brought Hal Jordan in, even because I know I did read something that Zack Snyder thought about bringing Ryan Reynolds in and making him the cameo too. Which has been,
I would have loved that, to be honest. That would have been so fun.
But I think it would have been stronger now that I think about it.
Yeah. So I mean, I pretty much covered everything that I have with this movie, but I guess to summarize, it's better. It's an improvement on the Joss Whedon cut. It does much better things with the characters, especially Cyborg and the Flash. It makes a much more interesting ending to the movie. Like the climax is way better. Because in the original it's pretty flaccid. I think was it Steppenwolf like loses, and then his fear smell makes the parademons like eat him or something. It's very lackluster.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this, like, there's a big climax and they team up more. Like, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, like, use their powers together, which was really cool to see. And then, yeah, they make the final stand and they toss the head and the body back through the gateway. And they're like, Darkseid, you want it? Come get it. And that's way better. So the climax is way better. And yeah, it just felt like much more of a well put together movie. So in my opinion, I would raise Justice League with the Snyder Cut, I would raise it from a D to a C+. That's where I'm standing.
All right. We know Rusty's going to buy it.
Is that both of them? Is that the taking both of them into account? The Joss Whedon cut and the Zack Snyder cut?
Well, the Whedon cut is a D, and then the Snyder cut is a C+. Like it's right there to being like amazing, but there's so much stuff in there that sort of like it's like, why was it done that way? So like I guess to get into the why category that I alluded to at the beginning. So, there's all these moments where it turns into like a cute little music video for the characters. Aquaman taking his shirt off, and
you're talking about the theatrical version
in the Snyder Cut.
Oh, Snyder Cut. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There are so many moments where it turns into like a cute little music video and slow mo. For not
I can't
really
stand
any
those.
particular reason. Yeah.
I cannot stand him as a music director when it comes to picking music for his films. I do not. There is every time it is this slow-mo moment of seriousness. It's not necessary. He does it every time. Mm-hmm. It's not, and I get it once in a while in a superhero film or a fantasy film, an action film. All right, bring in that, what's the famous Johnny Cash song? I hurt myself. All right, fine. Like one time. Not every time. He does it every time.
Multiple times.
And I noticed this because Rusty, you were saying before this that you watched you watched the Avengers, the two movies prior to this, I guess after Justice League Snyder Cut. I've also been going back and seeing some stuff, and I watched. My girlfriend wanted to see the Avengers, the full, the number one. So I'm watching it, and I'm realizing, when Iron Man starts, 2008. Okay, he comes in and AC/DC's playing, right? And that's the motion picture soundtrack that's the music. I don't think Iron Man picked that. I don't think Tony Stark was picking that when he's showing off those weapons in the opening scene, 2008, right? Iron Man number one. Tony Stark, however, adopts that music in the Avengers when he comes on the scene to fight Loki in Berlin. He comes in and on the radio all of a sudden, like, you got Black Widow, and she's in the plane. She's in one of those jets. And then all of a sudden, AC/DC comes on the radio. He's like, oh, it's Tony Stark. Great, it's Iron Man. Like, that's how significant this music is for superheroes or our movies that we're watching. No, not for Snyder. I missed that moment. I mean, it's the same scene where Aquaman saves the ship, or the ship's about to go under. He saves the sailor, brings him in, gets a drink in the bar, and then he walks out. And then it's this somber like song, Here Comes the Kingdom. Never heard it. I'm like, what is this? Why this is not what Aquaman would be listening to. Why are we having to listen to this? We want to listen to Aquaman rocking out. Totally different song, and I get it. Okay, different. Whedon, I understand, but. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. I wrote it here in my notes, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very noticeable, and it just feels like very self-indulgent a lot of times. It's like, all right, pick up the pace. And then it also felt like very egregious with the Flash scene as well, because it felt sort of like a copy of the Quicksilver scenes in the Fox X-Men movies. Which I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but that's immediately where my head went, and it kind of took me out of it. So yeah, that's why I brought that up. It's like, it's not like a huge deal, but it's like, you didn't have to do that. And I think somebody calculated it, and I believe 10% of this movie is in slow motion, of the entire runtime.
I think 10% of Snyder's actual life is in slow motion. If you walk through what he does, I assume that part of his day, every day, is that in some way, shape, or form. So he tries it out on his own to see how it's going to look or feel.
Yeah, he's just that's just how he's living, Yep. And then there are also other choices where, like I said, they don't detract from the movie, but it's like, why is that way? So, for example, with this movie being in 4:3 aspect ratio,
which was puzzling in its own respect.
Yeah, because it's like, well, none of us have a 4:3 screen.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just wondering. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know it was his vision, but I don't really understand why he picked 4:3. Unless he was really trying to make us feel like we were watching like an old Saturday morning cartoon or something.
Yeah.
On our old TVs we used to have when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
That didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I have to definitely agree with you and that's why he can be very polarizing, is he is heavy-handed with the slow motion, and he's heavy-handed with the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's something that does bother me. It's something that bothered me in Batman vs. Superman. Man of Steel had less of it, but I also feel that Christopher Nolan had a much more on-set, say in what was happening in Man of Steel, because he was a direct producer, and coming off the Nolan trilogy, which is much more realistic. We didn't get as much of the CGI in Man of Steel, whereas Batman vs. Superman, it's heavy CGI. Like you said, John, there's tons of rain. It's all dark. Everything is CGI.
Yep.
Justice League definitely felt the same way to me. I accepted it because I wanted to see Zack Snyder's vision. I know he's heavy-handed with that stuff, but going after that and watching Avengers Infinity War, which also has a heavy amount of CGI because it has to, because you're dealing with Thanos and everything. It's a bit off-putting sometimes to watch the way Zack Snyder does it versus the way like the Russo brothers did it.
Of course.
Where they peppered in more realism into the scenes. And I think, me personally, I prefer a heavier amount of realism with CGI put in where it's necessary, versus creating an entire universe of nothing but CGI, and then every action scene has slow motion.
And rain.
And rain, yes.
Devastating, pouring rain.
And as you said, and brooding and darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what's the song that Batman in Lego Batman sings? Like, he sings his whole life in one song, and it's hysterically funny. But
It is funny. That was funny.
but Snyder is basically saying, "Hey, that's great. Let's make this an adult film out of that song. Let's do exactly that."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wonder if Zack Snyder is jealous of Eric Kripke for making the thing that he wanted to make, and doing it so much better, because Eric Kripke made The Boys, and that is, like, I would say by definition a much darker property than anything that Snyder has put together, but it's just done so much more skillfully in terms of like where to add it in.
They've got Rogan. They've got the one of the greatest comedy experts of our time, you know, who is writing that stuff in. A guy who made, and was he in Green Hornet? Did he make Green Hornet? What was that?
He was in Green Hornet. Yeah.
He was in it, right? Yeah. I mean, he's got it all. So perfect combination of two guys or two filmmakers here who come together to make something that is serious, dark as shit, also charming and funny. It also has its moments of love. It's got levity. It's got there's also sunlight. It doesn't rain in every scene.
Exactly. Yeah. No weird storms. No weird color grades, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but they made this movie grayer than the original version as well on purpose.
Yes, I saw it you see it in the when they fight Superman in that scene. The lack of the Pet Sematary stuff, but yeah, you see it there.
Yeah, they squeeze just that little bit more color out of there, which Zack Snyder's vision. Of course. And then, yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, I'm pretty sure there's another cut of it coming out, or it might already be out, where it's black and white. Yeah, the black and white version. Yes, literally no color.
Yeah, it is out.
I told my wife, I was like, you know what, because I want to watch it again. And I said, I think I'm going to watch the gray version. She's like, what is that? I said, it's the black and white version. She goes, you're going to watch that whole movie in black and white? And I'm like, well, I mean, I need to watch it again anyway. So yeah, I guess I'll watch the black and white version. But I can't really imagine it's going to change anything.
Yeah, add to it. Yeah.
Black and white. You know, if anything, I think I would rather see the color.
Right. Yeah, it's just choices where it's like, why? But yeah, I just to like, I guess, kind of round it out, the reason why The Boys works so much better than this is because those characters were made for that. Like, these characters were they're satires of the Justice League, but they're specifically made to do these things. So, like, we don't have this preconceived notion of them. We do, but it's not to the point where it's like upsetting when we see these characters deviate from their, like, I guess, visual archetypes. So I think that's just the biggest thing that is, to sum up the Snyderverse, was that there's a lot of cool moments, but there's so many that deviate from what we want. Well, at least a lot of us want from the characters, and that's what sort of makes a lot of it off-putting and hard to watch sometimes.
I think that's pretty spot on. I think you're right about it. I think what I enjoy about the whole Snyderverse and all of them, and like I said with my multiple rewatching of Batman vs Superman, is that it really does have a lot of fun moments. It has a lot of good spots. It has a lot of cool aspects to it, but there's flaws, and there's a lot of flaws in it, and there's a lot of flaws in a lot of his films. That I think that's why fans were polarized by a lot of it in the beginning, but now they're rallying behind him, which I'm happy, because at least we all got to see this now.
Yeah.
So at least we get to see exactly what he intended, which, as you guys pointed out, is a very rare thing. Most studios would have never been like, we kind of fucked up. Excuse my language. Sorry, we kind of messed up, and we shouldn't have done that.
This is not a podcast for children.
Yeah, but never know.
This is being recorded at almost 1 a.m. now at this point. So East Coast time.
I was doing so good at not dropping F-bombs because I wasn't sure.
Doing better than Batman.
Hey, Batman could do it. Why can't you? Apparently.
You know what? Fair point. But yeah, no, it's yeah. I think you summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
For me at the end.
Yeah, like I'm glad that this exists so that we know for a fact like what it would have been, or like what it was intended to be. And yeah, if we don't end up getting more, then I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I've seen the Snyderverse, and if it continues, sure, let's see what else. But if not, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
I wonder if this wouldn't have come to fruition without COVID. The fact that we're all home, the fact that there's so many people at home watching TV, watching more TV than anything, streaming left and right. That everybody and their mother watched WandaVision and Mandalorian.
But I also wonder, and I'm 100% that person. As much as I love my HBO shows, I never had an HBO streaming. I got HBO Max to watch Justice League once I knew it was coming out. I 100% subscribed to it to watch Justice League.
Sure. As did 1.6 million out of the 1.8. How many people were like, I can't wait to see.
Same.
Warner Brothers, they were banking on people like me that were going to be like, you know what, we need something huge besides HBO because, you have your HBO people. We need something huge to really get people to link in. And, we have Friends. Yeah, we all, people love Friends, but that's not going to bring in. You need something special, and
don't they have Sex in the City? Is that HBO?
They do, and they have Rick and Morty as well. So,
right.
They have their stuff, but they needed
course.
that secret project that was really going to link people in, and I think that's why Warner Brothers was like, you know what, maybe we will just do this.
Yeah. They have a lot of heavy hitters coming out, even outside of DC. They have Godzilla versus Kong coming out this month. They have Mortal Kombat also. They have The Matrix 4. They have all these like really heavy hitting titles.
Suicide Squad is going to
Suicide Squad's coming.
Theaters.
We're going to be doing a react. We've got a Suicide Squad video coming on this podcast very soon, in the next few days. So keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, just going to say the trailer looks excellent and
awesome.
It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Yeah.
Justin, thank you so much for joining us today on this DC adventure that we took.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate you having me. This was a great movie for me to want to discuss with you guys, and I'm very happy you asked me to join. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it was awesome. We look forward to appearing on your pod one of these days soon enough.
You will. I have an idea now. What I'm going to do, maybe, if I can't find an obscure superhero-esque horror movie, I'm going to find a movie directed by a guy who is already elevated up to the superhero standard, like Adam Wingard, who directed Godzilla vs. Kong. We're actually doing one of his first films on the next episode of my podcast.
Oh, nice.
Which was a horror movie about a serial killer. So
very cool.
Maybe that's a way to get you guys on our podcast, is to find a connection to the superheroes, but not, because I'm having trouble finding a good obscure superhero-esque, unless we do the Guyver, which I don't know if you guys want to do the Guyver.
Is that the animated
half alien,
one?
Half superhero with Mark Hamill.
The what? I missed that part. What was that?
It's called the Guyver.
Okay,
I know about the anime version, but I don't know the live action.
Yeah,
one.
it's based off the anime. It's based off anime. I did think about doing that, and I actually mentioned it to Chris. I'm like, the Guyver's one that's kind of superhero but has horror elements to it.
Right.
Maybe we could have them on for that. But now I think I'm going to change it, and I'll find a way to connect it to a superhero director, like Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, who did Spider-Man.
I'm in.
Trilogy,
ahead,
and now he's doing Doctor Strange.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, or David Sandberg, who did Shazam. Started out with Lights Out.
And
we'll make this happen very soon.
That's right. That's right. And the fans don't know, but also Rusty is an actor in an episode of my series that's going to be releasing soon enough once we finish that episode. So he is a superhero himself. He plays a hero himself who may or may not be killing people. So
I was actually looking at pictures the other day, and I came across that picture with the makeup and everything. That was fun. That's cool.
It's you're in our reel, as a matter of fact. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, had to include it.
No, but I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on for this. This was awesome. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that I
Thank
got
you.
to talk this movie out with you guys and to process some thoughts on it, because there's a lot to process in a 4-hour movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm processing all kinds of possible script with Hans Gruber as Darkseid now. It's going through.
I'm telling you, man.
Another, what does he say? Another victim of a failed generation, John Wayne. I'm preferable to Superman. So thank you.
Could do it though. Malkovich could do it.
Oh, I agree. It's a great call on that. Thank you, folks. Tune in for we've got some other pods coming up very soon. At the end referenced Suicide Squad, and also, of course, Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming at you on a podcast, Essentially Heroes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a lot more cool stuff coming on, so stay with us for the ride, folks. So, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And stay tuned for the next one.
Hello there, this is the Essentially Heroes digital assistant, Phoebe. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of the Snyder Cut Review podcast. Unless you started with this episode, in which case you can check out part 1 where we covered a lot more of the positives. But really, who starts with a part 2? You must be a real engine of destruction, and I kind of like that.